Think Local First DC presents the 2021 Local First Awards, powered by Maven Messenger, on Tuesday, November 16th at the Hamilton, hosted by WUSA 9 Emmy Award-winning anchor Allison Seymour. Local independent businesses, entrepreneurs, makers, and artists alike will be awarded this coveted honor. Mark your calendar today to tune in to weacradio.com to view the award show live. Tune in at 7 p.m. on November 16th. For more information, go to thinklocalfirst.com and click on Local First Awards. Local First Awards thanks WEAC Radio, WPFW, Washington Informer, and Capital Community News, along with all of our partners and sponsors. Visit weacradio.com on November 16th so you don't miss the 2021 Local First Awards.
All right, peace world. This is Kimon Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy, representing We Act Radio, our 10th anniversary, broadcasting on Radical Side Martin King Avenue for the past 10 years. It's been a great joy, great journey. And this is the first interview after celebrating that auspicious monumental occasion. I'm so honored to be addressing this group of people at this time about this event. This is Think Local First DC, who represents nearly 500 DC-based businesses, paying homage to them with the return of the 2021 Local First Awards ceremony on Tuesday, November the 16th at 7 p.m., powered by Maven Messenger. It's launched in 2017. The Local First Award celebrates local independent businesses, entrepreneurs, and artists who give back to the community and create a positive impact. Award-winning journalist and WSA 9 host, Get Up DC, Allison Seymour, will serve as the master of ceremony for the 2021 Local First Awards. This year's event is a hybrid event that will broadcast live from the Hamilton and also on weacradio.com. This night will honor 7 DC small and local businesses with a distinguished award voted on by over 700 DC community members, along with the Trailblazer Award being presented to Dreaming Out Loud, the Route 121 2021 honoree. In addition, DJ Two Tone, a good friend of mine and one of the top DJs in the nation's capital, returns to perform alongside a live music performance by electronic celloist Benjamin Gates. Now, after an unprecedented 18 months, small and local businesses need our support. So there's no better way to celebrate their resiliency and impact than returning with the Local First Awards. Thomas Martin, board president of Think Local First DC, e-commerce app Maven Messenger, and Local First Awards title sponsor for the first time. Sponsors also include S&P 400 company, JB Smith, and historic family-owned legacy businesses, Lee's Flower Shop, and media partners, of course, We Act Radio, WPFW 89.3 FM, the Washington Informer, Capital Community News, all return for the third year to support this highly coveted ceremony. Now, joining me here today, we have Tom Martin, as a board president of the Think Local First DC and a partner at the law firm of Goldblatt Martin Posen, LLP, which focuses on providing legal representation and government relations services to businesses operating in Washington, DC. He hosts quarterly seminars targeting the needs of businesses through the Employer Advocate Program at Think Local First DC. Welcome, Tom. Also joining us is Christopher Bradshaw, a justice-oriented social entrepreneur whose expertise is using social innovation through the food system to grow meaningful community economic development within marginalized communities. Chris and his organization, Dreaming Out Loud, see the food system as a lens to examine and dismantle systems of oppression and leads towards Black liberation. He is a frequent speaker on the intersections of racial justice, class, gender, and food sovereignty, and has been selected to the Route 100 list of most influential Black Americans. Welcome, Christopher. Now, the title sponsor, who they represent the 2021 Think Local First Awards, Maven Messenger, is Natasha Marquez. Am I saying that right, Natasha?
Yep, Natasha Markakis, close enough.
Okay, and we're gonna work on that colonized tongue before this interview is over. Please tell us more about Maven Messenger and why you chose the Think Local First Awards as title sponsor.
Sure. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to kind of come and meet everyone in person tomorrow. Maven Messenger was really started rooted in a community, and when we were launching and we were getting ready to launch, essentially what we saw was that the e-commerce world had kind of blown up from the pandemic. So at its core, it's an app, but beyond a commerce app, it's really focused on human connection and really empowering small, medium businesses and their consumers to really take back ownership of their business and uh, foster that kind of relationship between business owner and customer, where someone can walk in on Main Street and rather than being inundated with ads and targeted, it kind of brings back that human connection that I think we've all lost over the past year and a half. So for businesses, we say that Maven is the easiest and trusted way for them to connect with consumers and really own those consumer relationships. And for shoppers, we say that Maven provides a one-stop shop to support small and local businesses in an ad-free experience. We don't believe in storing or sharing customer data. You won't be targeted with ads because of your shopping behavior. It's really, truly an organic, clean shopping experience between business owner and the consumer.
And so, I really want to applaud that, because you guys were created. When did you launch? When did the platform launch?
So we soft launched about a year ago, and we really scaled in January 2021, excuse me. So we're about a year in, and the growth has just been exponential. I think when I joined in February of last year, we had about 10 businesses, and now we're close to 700 businesses on the platform and scaling every day. And while we're starting with e-commerce right now, our vision is much broader than that. We see kind of bringing in more of the community aspect and empowering any community activist, expert, leader, educator to have this opportunity to connect with consumers in a fair level playing field versus having to turn to big tech platforms and billionaires and sell on other larger e-commerce platforms, which I won't name directly, but really kind of just providing tools that are fair for everybody.
Well, Natasha, you might not name names, but this is We Act Radio, and we name names. And we were supposed to have this interview on Facebook Live Messenger platform, and they changed the whole structure of that. They removed that feature from that, and hence we are on Zoom now doing what we have to do. But your platform was created in the midst of the pandemic, and it reminds me of how crises oftentimes create opportunities. And so we want to get into what some of the opportunities this crisis has created. And as you guys gather your thoughts on how to respond to that, let me share a quote from you. This is from Milton Friedman, who was not a friend of progressives by any stretch of the imagination, but even a broke clock is right 2 times a day. And he went on to say that only a crisis, actual or perceived, produces real change. When that crisis occurs, the actions that are taken depend on the ideas that are laying around. That, I believe, is our basic function, to develop alternatives to existing policies, to keep them alive and available until the politically impossible becomes the politically inevitable. So I put that question to you guys on the floor. What opportunities do you think that this crisis have created, not only for small businesses, but for you as well? And this is an open floor.
I'm happy to take it on first, since it's related to kind of what Maven's doing. But yeah, as I mentioned, Maven was launched during the pandemic, and what we saw was that everyone was home and shopping, and they were just supporting billionaires, not local businesses anymore. So our team hit the ground and really sought out even local businesses in the Brooklyn community where my boss lives, and tried to bring them onto the e-commerce experience so that they can continue to thrive and sell without the in-person interactions. With that, we had a marketing budget, and rather than just promoting Maven blindly back then, when we were still kind of grassroots, we chose to take that and invest it directly into the businesses that joined us. So my response would be that this pandemic has shown the general community of creators that they can be a business owner. You don't have to, kind of always turn to the bigger tech to launch your passion. And I think also for consumers, it's shown that you can support local. You don't always have to support billionaires, and where you spend your money actually matters. And being a little more conscious about when you're making a purchase. Can I make this purchase, but have it actually do good, whether that's cause-based or local-based? I think that's allowed all consumers to really think beyond just logging onto their Amazon app and ordering everything that they want instantly.
Yeah, because people, we cannot stress that enough. Who you give your money to is who you give your power to. Walmart bad, Costco good. It breaks my heart when I go to some progressive parties around the nation's capital, and I see Yingling Beer, which is a very vocal pro-Trump company, being consumed at those gatherings, and not DC Brow, which is a local brand that invests in the community. People haven't really connected the dots on how local money circulates with local businesses. And when you have the national chain stores, it extracts the wealth out of that community and it never returns. I can't stress that enough. But I wanted to continue this conversation with the crisis and opportunities. And I wanted to keep an open forum, but if I have to name names, this is We Act Radio, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I think the crisis has torn down the facade that these, whether it's big tech or big food, that these entities are necessary and are the ones that are able to provide for communities. We've built this image or this mirage of dependency, and it shows in the crisis that the more dependent we are on things further away from our communities and further away from the issues, the weaker we are, even though they look strong because of marketing, because of the money that they spend, because of the ability to just occupy space. And so what we've seen is that there's been a return to more grassroots efforts, and it's really heartening to hear from Maven, but we've seen the same thing. Folks want to invest and build out the local food system where folks are benefiting from not just access to healthy food, but benefiting in terms of the economic output. Shopping with local farmers, so we're not dependent upon this global supply chain, and strengthening things at the local level. One thing that has to still be challenged is the notion that we can fix these things and strengthen and undergird local systems with just short infusions of cash or resources or attention, right? These things need to happen at the policy level as well, and need depth of resources over time in order to really build out what we believe is necessary for both people and planet. Localizing and strengthening the local food system not only helps the economy, but it also helps the planet. Regenerative agriculture is a powerful way to fight climate change. These big agribusinesses, that you might see on your big store shelves are not the ones that are making the changes that are necessary at this critical moment in our planet's history. And so Dreaming Out Loud, as an organization that is privileged to work with local farmers that sell into our Black Farm Community Supported Agriculture Program, into our wholesale sales, which are increasingly going to local schools and other nonprofits. Building out this supply chain on the ground allows us to hire from within the community, to shop with local farmers, as well as local food makers. And so we want to continue to see this movement progress, but it needs to be further supported at the policy level so that we're putting the depth of resources over time so we can make substantive and generational change for our communities.
Well, you drive a point home, Chris, because I think the point you're driving home is to think local first, obviously. But we also know about that phrase, think global, but act local. You are acting local. And then one of the things I heard this morning, listening to Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman, and think in terms of thinking global, she was talking about how some of these multinational banks are actually funding the continuation of fossil fuel drilling and extraction. All right. So when we give our money to these banks who are actually contributing to climate change, instead of banking with a city first bank, banking with an industrial bank, banking with a small credit union, thinking local first, is actually having impacts not only on the economy, but also on climate change and things that we're supposed to care about. And I think what Think Local First is doing is creating this synergy where we can start connecting these dots and realize how our money, who we give our money to, is who we give our power to. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Martin to see what he has to put some shine on this. But I also want to hear more about the Employer Advocates Program with you as well, brother.
Sure. I mean, just piggybacking on what's already been said a little bit, the main differences or changes we saw from the pandemic were a change in delivery methods for a lot of services. I mean, there were some goods and services that were no longer relevant in this sort of new paradigm, but particularly here in DC, what had been, and you talk about concentrations of power and wealth, for so long, like many of the restaurants, nightclubs, other spaces with expensive commercial real estate downtown, that was all based on packing a lot of people into a very small space and charging a lot of rent for the use of that space. And what it's done, and as others have touched on, it's sort of moved away from that to people having more power to broadcast their own information and create their own networks and groups. And I think that over the next many years, we'll see how the DC commercial real estate community sort of recovers and regenerates as the people start to see, and this goes into my second point, the main thing I've seen in it being an employment law is right now it's an employee's market. I think people took stock of their lives, for many people for the first time ever, and said, is this really what I want to be doing? And I think from a lot of what I've seen and heard talking with people, I think there's going to be a lot of new businesses springing up, particularly in this winter and in the spring, as people do say, I am empowered to I don't have to be on this hamster wheel that I may have been on for most of my life. And I'm going to go pursue this dream that I have, because I have so many people that I'm talking to about their opening a new business. They have a new idea, and I actually see a lot of growth in that respect. One thing that Christopher said that I wanted to make sure I touched on, and it dovetails into the employer advocate and Think Local First, is he was talking about the policy connection piece. And I think that's really critical, because one thing I've said here locally is, don't focus, DC government, don't focus everything on unemployment insurance and the right now and this sort of this immediate need. You need to start to focus on reconnecting people to jobs and retraining them and giving more opportunities long term, instead of sort of looking back and being a temporary bridge with cash. I mean, we've got an opportunity here to really make policy that can lead to sustaining changes and growth. And so much of that has to do with recirculating dollars locally and not going to places that are going to just take those dollars and put them in a different place. They've got to be recirculated here. There are enough businesses in this community where we can help each other to grow. And I know many customers, consumers, clients are more aware of the impact of those dollars recirculating here.
You know, it brings to mind for me, where I'm always quoting Martin Luther King, because our studio's on the radical side of Martin Luther King Avenue, but he talked about the revolution of values. And I think that's what we're really talking about. Our consumer habits, we have to be a conscious consumer, because our spending habits have to reflect that value shift. And I think that one of the things that Maven Messengers has created is an opportunity and a platform for people to express and exercise that shift. Again, an open floor. What do you think needs to be done to continue to contribute to a conscientious consumer with strategic spending that reflects a revolution of values?
What we've seen really be most successful in the Maven platform is, and Tom, as you mentioned, broadcasting. So I will say the quick answer is education for me. And traditionally businesses, they have gotten into this kind of grind of grinding leads and always sending the same message out of promotions and sales and products. But what we try and tell our business on the platform is, you don't always need to be selling. The more you educate, the more you show who the person is behind the business, the more they will support you. Share your story. We have amazing merchants on the platform where he created a luxury leather sneaker for his community, because every other brand that he wanted and his friends wanted were overpriced. So he went out there and he did it, and he tells his story, and all of his customer connections just love it. So in the app, you can broadcast to all of your customers versus other traditional email outreach or social media, where, like we saw with Facebook, things could change. But the ability to really own your customer communications and your brand ethos, and educate not just your customers, but broadly all consumers as to why your products are so special. What is the impact that you are driving with your business beyond just this one-on-one sale? It's letting consumers know that your brand is committed to a larger effort beyond just that one sale is how I think we will continue to empower small, medium businesses and educate consumers to do right with their dollars.
Do right with their dollars. I like the sound of that. That might be a motto that gets repeated. Do right with your dollars. Do right with your dollars.
Right.
I just wanted to talk to the baby of the bunch here today. Christopher, you have been been accused of being one of the top 100 influential Black Americans in this country. Congratulations, first of all. But what do you specifically think of when it says, do right with your dollars?
Yeah, I think there's multiple layers to that phrase. One is, do no harm, and do some research about where you're spending your resources. We've seen an era of things being greenwashed previously, things that were harmful to the environment, repackaged and rebranded to look as if they're helping the environment. And I think post, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor protests, I think we're seeing things being blackwashed in that way, where, you can drape a Black Lives Matter banner, and the things that are behind that, the practices, whether that's in hiring or in business in terms of sourcing, what have you, are still damaging to Black lives. And so I think it's important for us to examine what those practices are when we're spending our dollars, and how products end up on our shelves, and who they harm, and what promises some of these companies have made towards furthering the Black Lives Matter cause, and what's actually been resources have been put on the table. And I think that goes for many aspects of our lives in terms of our dollars, whether that's your political dollars, who you're giving your campaign resources to. I think at the individual level, those are some of the things that you can do is find out who's really living up to what they say. Also at your household level, you can shop locally at farmers markets. You can shop locally at smaller grocers. I think there's a lot more opportunities that are popping up that I've, been heartened to see, from Market 7 to Mookie's Grocery to the Fresh Food Factory. They're increasingly more opportunities for you to shop with those local dollars, particularly east of the river, that are stocking things from community members' businesses. So, we have to continue to put our money where our mouth is, and do the research, and find those opportunities where we can support our local business. And sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive, because, paying a living wage to your employees is a part of living up to those values and up to that code. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer for someone to fulfill an order. Well, we're in a pandemic still, right? We're in a skilled labor shortage. And so that small business might be training someone who has previously not had an opportunity to be employed in such a way. And so it might take a little bit longer. So it's like an exercise in patience that we have to undergo, that kind of undoes what we've been trained to do, which is expect everything to be instant, and change isn't instant. I think it was the MLK quote about the arc of justice bends. I can't remember how it goes. Bends.
It's long, but it bends towards justice.
Towards justice. There we go. That is that is indicative of what we're talking about, right? That quote encapsulates that notion, just transfers it to business. So, I think for me, I want to also see a conversation about what it looks like for self-care on the other end of these businesses, because we can't on the other side of justice, mythologize things so much that we aren't taking a look at what the toll takes on entrepreneurs and the limitations of entrepreneurship and business to solve some of these challenges. And that's why I pivot back to policy, because we need policy that really develops our social infrastructure again. We've seen that in the Build Back Better attempts, the infrastructure bill attempts, we've seen a lot of the things to invest in the human side of our country cut out, right? And so at the local level, we can't allow those things to happen, have to continue to invest in the human infrastructure that is going to power our communities through these challenging times and be able to see what it looks like on the other side when justice is actually achieved.
The justice is actually achieved. For those who are just joining us, we are talking about Think Local First 2021 awards. Going to be airing Tuesday, November the 16th at 7 p.m. It'll be broadcasting live from the Hamilton, and you can watch the broadcast on weactradio.com. We joined with some of the distinguished participants in that auspicious event. And before we get out of here, I want to make sure that we do a roundtable for everyone to share information on how our listeners and our audience can connect with the work that you're doing and support the work you're doing and benefit from the work that you're doing. And before we do that, I want to make sure that we all understand the highlights that we've talked about today. And is wherever you give your money to is who you give your power to. And we need to, do right with our dollars. And the truth of the matter is that the largest employer in America is not Walmart. It's not even the federal government. It's actually small businesses. And so when you invest in small businesses, we're actually investing in our community and invest in ourselves because that money circulates less like blood through the body. And we need to understand that. And when we spend outside of the body, it's good to donate blood for those that need it, but I don't think the Walton family needs any more of our blood. I don't think many of these billionaires who made, some of them doubled their net worth during the pandemic need any more of our blood. And so I think it's time for us to take that energy and bring it home and support those that's in our own economic structure in our communities. So having said that, that's my little soapbox. I want to share the floor with everyone for closing thoughts and comments and how our audience can connect with the work that you're doing. Ladies first.
All right, thanks for going first each time. Yeah, I would say to connect with us, we're mavenapp.com, MAVENAP.com. And over there, if you want to join as a consumer and shop small, medium, local businesses. We're actively bringing on a lot of DC businesses on too as well. Even everyone on there, there's a large brand that is a billionaire that's going to be benefiting from there. And so there you can download the app as a consumer. And if you are an e-commerce business or you're looking to launch from your brick and mortar, the business resources are there too. And you can always reach out to myself or success@mavenapp.com if you have any questions about how to make that transition. It is a really core value to us, as well as not just serving the businesses that are already online and e-commerce and on these different platforms, but educating smaller businesses that have never had the opportunity to transition to online. So we actively want to educate and advocate for those businesses, provide resources, tools, educational webinars, whatever. We're constantly exploring those options. So get in touch with us, advocate for the small businesses. Keep in mind, I really want to echo Chris's point too, as well as, nobody's perfect. And I think we've all gotten stuck as consumers, we've gotten stuck into instant gratification and expecting perfection from everyone. And small businesses, may not have always had that resource. So be patient, be kind, but also stand up for yourself and for the businesses that you want to support. And Chris, you're absolutely right. Some of these businesses can't battle and send an order 2 days later or next day shipping, but that patience really makes a difference to their well-being. So that's my closing, and thank you for having me.
Thank you as well. And we'll save the last word for the baby of the bunch. So Mr. Martin.
Thanks again for having me. My parting notes are just to remind folks to shop local as much as you possibly can and recirculate those dollars here in the district. As you mentioned, tomorrow, Tuesday, November 16th at 7 p.m., we'll be hosting the Local First Awards powered by Maven Messenger. You can watch live on weactradio.com. And if you want to get more information about Think Local First DC, please feel free to check us out at thinklocalfirstdc.org. Thank you.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, I just want to say in closing, thank you to WEAC Radio. 10 years is an incredible legacy. And I know y'all just getting started and, as you said, just getting good. And the progress and I've seen over the years towards great is really inspirational. And, you know, I think about your motto where you say, do something. And that action is all that we have to fall back on, right? We got to act. And acting with intention. Shopping local is something you can do with intention. Getting involved in local politics and issues that impact your community is something you can do with intention. And so at Dreaming Out Loud, we want to provide as many opportunities for folks to do that as you can through our programs and that benefit our partners, whether they're Black farmers, women-owned food makers. And so that's why we do the work that we do, and really thankful to be able to share that with folks tomorrow night. You can find us at dreamingoutloud.org on our website or at DOLDC across all social media platforms.
All right. And in closing, we're all too often familiar with Martin Luther King's last speech, but we're not as familiar with his next to his last speech, which was delivered right here in Washington, D.C., March 31st, 1968. It was entitled Remaining Awake During a Great Revolution. He goes on to say that far too often people find themselves living in periods of great social change, but yet they fail to develop the new ideas, the new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through a revolution. I submit to you that's the very definition of stay woke, which is why the Republican Party doesn't like the concept of woke and want to turn it into a pejorative. But we really need to have woke consumers. And so, as you said, Mr. Christopher, we want to do something with intention. And that's exactly what we need to here to do. So thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Christopher. And by all means, think global, act local, but please think local first. Join us 7 p.m. November 16th at weackradio.com. And special shout out to our title sponsor, Maven Media. Maven Messenger.
Yep, you got it. My name is Kirsten Shaw, and I am the founder of the very best cookie in the whole wide world. I was laid off from my job, so I started ding-dong ditching all of my friends with chocolate chip cookies. They were all like, you should really be selling these. So I just set up a shop on Shopify, and the rest is history. Maven is great. It is super seamless, and customers can discover the products through the Maven app. My customers get exclusive offers through Maven. There's a lot of good deals and special products that I'll push just through Maven, so it kind of gives me a special relationship with the customer. It gives us the ability to communicate directly with the customers. We have put out flavor requests a few times, and some of our upcoming flavors are actually customer requested flavors. So that's pretty fun to be able to kind of send a broadcast message. I love Maven. Maven has been really great at supporting small businesses and kind of connecting them to new customer bases. So it's really fun to kind of treat your customers as VIPs through the app and give them that kind of one-on-one hand-holding. I think customers love it too.